Those of you familiar with the show are going to know that I am very excited to be talking to Coquese Washington about Rutgers basketball, all things Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Lockdown Women's Basketball starts now.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.
Well, hi there, everyone, and welcome to another week of Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm your host, Howard Megdal, thanking you for making us your first listen every day. 6 days a week, we do this every single week, and you guys have responded. Over 100,000 listeners in April, and then we beat that number in May. I'm so delighted to be part of this. Of course, I am just a part of it. The incredible group over at The Next does this with me every single day, 100 reported pieces or more each month. TheNextHoops.com, $9 a month, $72 a year. You're supporting the work being done, reporting about past, present, and future of women's basketball. And there's been some very interesting things happening in the recent past when it comes to Rutgers. Of course, a storied program, a fascinating present, and a really exciting future. And Coquese Washington, who is entering her second year as head coach at Rutgers, joins me to talk all about it. I will ask you this, because we spoke about a year ago about things, and it was an uphill climb. We're going to talk about some of that uphill climb and what you did there. Has this year gone the way you would have expected?
To answer that question, I have to say it's not a yes or a no question because I didn't really come in with any expectation. I came into this season, year one, and of course, the timing of my hire made something, the things that what we could do, um, push that timeline back. So I didn't have any expectation, but I just wanted to experience the year, and I just wanted to discover what this community was like. I wanted to discover what our team was like. I wanted to discover what our program was like. So I didn't have any expectations of we should do this or we should do that or players should be here or the program should be there. It was just, you know what? We're here. Let's go through the season and see what happens and see what this Rutgers, Scarlet Knight, Piscataway, New Brunswick community, what it's really like when you peel back the curtain. And from that perspective, it was a phenomenal year because it's been so wonderful to really become entrenched in this community. And I just love being at Rutgers, and I love being in New Jersey and being in this area of the country.
Well, it has been an obvious great fit. And here in segment one, we're going to talk about some of the ways in which that became clear over year one. Segment two is going to be about the future because there are some fascinating additions, both freshmen and transfers coming in to add to your numbers. But I want to give our listeners a sense of this, right? You come in at the end of a time where you're not really able to recruit at the time
Right.
of year that you come in. And Rutgers had 8 players. And so you
Right.
guys played with 8 players all year. And I was talking to the SID extraordinaire, Erin Neri, about this
Yeah.
off the before we got on here. But listen, to my listeners, forgive me, but a point of personal privilege. I know they don't necessarily give out Coach of the Year awards to 12 and 20 teams. I get that. But for you guys to go out there and win 12 games, to win 6 games in the Big Ten, which was the hardest conference in all of college basketball last year, with 8 players that you were making the best of a situation that you inherited, to me, I think it's hard to argue against that as one of the best coaching jobs, if not the best coaching job in the country. And so I want to just give me a sense of what you did to bring those players together, to have them motivated, to get everyone buying in, because that's what you ultimately needed. You needed contributions from all 8, and you got significant minutes from all 8 of your players this year.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, the first thing is I was really blessed and fortunate to have on our staff and two people who stayed with the program, our strength coach, Glenn Kane, and our athletic trainer, Jess Kinder. And
Mhm,
they were phenomenal in terms of keeping everybody healthy and keeping everybody available. And that's one of the first things we talked about with our coaching staff was that we got to make sure we're great at keeping our team healthy and keeping our players locked in and motivated because we got nothing else. If they if they lose it, we've got nothing else. So
mm,
I think they were phenomenal in the approach to prehab, the approach to recovery, the approach to keeping our bodies, the players keeping their bodies ready for that grind because it's a grind when you have 12, 13 players.
mhm,
So when you only have eight, it's a significant grind. And also I have to add in there our nutritionist, Katie, because the three of them were amazing. So the first thing we did when we got the job, I think the first week, the first team meeting, we sat down and we said, "Listen, we're rolling with you guys. We aren't going out trying to find, turning over every rock and looking under every leaf to find. It's the eight of you. We're rolling with you, eight, and you're enough. That's it. So you don't have to be looking over your wondering, this is it. You guys are it. You are the cavalry,
mm,
right? You're the ones we're rolling with. And I really believe from that minute and that moment on, they were like, all right, it's just us eight. So whatever we have to do, whatever the coaches ask, whatever, our medical staff ask, we're just gonna do it because we know and they understood it's just the eight of us. So if I roll my ankle or if I do anything, if we get hurt, we're down to seven. And we all know like seven, that's really tough. So they
you
really bought in from day one.
I mean, you gotta be holding your breath, right? When
Yeah.
you're in every game, when there's anyone goes down, right? There's this
Yeah.
immediate thought of like, there's no margin for error. And you guys
Right.
managed to run the gauntlet of doing that all year. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I
but
tell you, Howard, not only did we quote unquote survive, we didn't miss not one player missed one game because of injury. And not only that, we had one player miss one day of practice because of
mm,
an injury.
mhm,
So it wasn't just that they showed up on game day, they made it through the entire practice season as well. And
amazing.
that was to me, with our medical staff, one of the most impressive things is that every day we had the eight that we had. And then when Jill joined us at Christmas, then we had the nine. And those nine were at practice every day, every
I
day.
I don't mean to overstate it, but, I've covered this game for a while. You've been in this game a minute too. Have you ever seen that?
No, I've
It's
never
yeah,
seen a season where you only have 8 players and they just make it through. And so again, I just tip my hat to our medical staff. They were phenomenal and now the pressure's on them, right? They got to do that every year. Like, no, the pressure's on them. With the secret is out on how good they are. So
now it's the standard. Well, listen, the secret is out to anyone who didn't know. If you weren't from the area, maybe you didn't. If you were around here, you did. About Kayleen Smikle, who's just been
yeah,
absolutely day one, somebody who's been able to be a leader for you
yeah,
guys, averaging, 20. I want to highlight in Big Ten play to be able to
yeah.
do this in Big Ten play, 20 points per game in Big Ten play, 2.5 steals per game in Big Ten play. How impressed were you by her immediate transition to playing this game at the highest level?
Oh, it was wonderful to see her go from just walking in the door and being a freshman who don't even know where the buildings are, right, to um get into conference play and have a level of confidence and a level of she had that fight and that warrior spirit in her that night in and night out she was gonna go off. Now that she grew into that role. The beginning of the season, she wasn't a starter and she wasn't as confident, and I think that's a testament, to how hard the Big Ten is and how big the jump is from high school to Division I basketball, and especially the Big Ten basketball. And so her confidence grew over the course of the non-conference season. And her position coach, Tasha Pointer, did a great job of, and Tasha, she's such a phenomenal player, but she did a great job of helping get Kayleen's mindset,
Mhm.
and increasing her confidence and like, no, yeah, you can be one of the best players in this conference. And here's what it's going to take. And here's what your approach should be. And here's how you got to work. And here's what you got to see. And, I think one of the cool things with Kayleen is the better the competition, the better she played, so she puts up, I don't know, 28, 29 against Maryland. She puts up 28 or 29 against Ohio State. She puts up, 25 against Iowa and Indiana. Like the better the competition was, the better she played. And that's incredible for a freshman to do.
The better the competition, not just in terms of the points per game either, her efficiency got better too, which is
Mhm.
just that really sticks out, to see
Yeah.
that out of a freshman.
Yeah.
I'm eager, obviously, in segment 2 to talk about how her development
Yeah.
fits in what's coming. So we're going to get to that in just a minute.
Okay.
First, I am going to let the good people at home know about game time. And I'm going to be using game time coming up this weekend. I'm going to be interacting with some friends down in Philly. We were talking, saying, gee, can we get together for a Phillies game? Can we get kids together? Well, sure we can. And we're going to use the Game Time app to do it. We don't have to worry about having the tickets ahead of time. We're still figuring out which of his kids he can get to join us at the game. Well, last minute, you just go to the Game Time app and you're not only able to grab the tickets, you're able to see exactly where we're sitting. My friend happens to be a Citizens Bank Park snob when it comes to tickets. And so he feels very strongly about it. So, all right, we'll go through, we'll get approval, and we'll make sure that they're exactly where he wants to sit. We're going to download the Game Time. Oh, he's going to. I already have it. The Game Time app. You create an account and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. So, all right, it's an amazing year one, right? But now you have a couple of things, right? You have her development from year one to year two at this high level, and the cavalry's coming. And we're going to
Yeah.
get to some of the players who are going to come along with that. But just first, Kayleen, right? 36% from three as a freshman, which again speaks to me to both her shot selection and her ability to hit those shots when
Mhm.
she's getting it. Where does that need to take another step forward? And what's a reasonable benchmark when you're starting at that level already?
Yeah. Well, I think, certainly we want that percentage to be higher.
Mhm.
We wanted to get into the, the really high 30s, low 40s if possible. That's a reasonable jump. But then it's also, shoring up some of her mechanics on her
Mhm.
shot. Her shot selection is already pretty good. So it's just about shoring up some of her mechanics, and making sure that she knows how to put herself in the position to get those shots. We got a number of things that Kayleen can get better at. We'd like her to get a little bit better at her ball handling and her passing, which the entire team needs to get better at their ball handling and passing. But in particular for Kayleen to make that jump, she's got to smooth out, some edges. But another person I want to talk about who had a really good year was China Cornwell.
Yeah.
And that was a really fascinating discovery for us because we had no expectations. We didn't know what she would be capable of doing. And to watch her blossom into a really solid Big Ten post player, and arguably one of the best, if not the best, offensive rebounders in the conference. Her numbers were just amazing. And so when you have those two kids coming back, along with Awa, who played most of the year a point guard for us when everybody knows she is not a point guard.
Right.
But to get that experience, it's just huge for us. So I think we have, three really strong players who had a lot of success and got a lot of experience playing this year. And then when you talk about the pieces we add to the program, we feel pretty good about being able to take another step forward for the program this year.
And it made sense, right? That's the other part of it to me is you saw some clear areas of strength, and then the most obvious areas that needed improvement are ones that you went out to address, obviously, with the players who were coming in. And so let's take them each in turn because they're both really interesting to me,
Yeah.
right? And so, Awa obviously was being asked to play point guard. You guys, essentially had to play without a true point guard this year.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
see, listen, that was the turnover numbers, right? You were
Yep.
337th in the country. I think your top 3 minute getters were
What was the number? I never looked it up because I didn't want to know during the season. So what was it?
337 out of 361.
Ah,
Literally,
well, see, that's better than I thought because I was absolutely certain that we led the nation. So
it was, that was the challenge, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. And then again, it just goes back to, the part where where you look at the 12 wins, you look at the 6 conference wins, you're doing it despite that. You're doing that despite, efficiency not being where I know you want it to get
Right.
to. And so those two go, to my mind, hand in hand because you look at China and what she was able to do, 3.3 offensive rebounds per game. It was 3 in conference play, again, against those bigs, against bigs who we're seeing in the WNBA now, And so you guys finished 4th in the Big Ten in offensive rebounding percentage out of 14. 4th out of 14. When I look back, when I'm just like, is there one number that encapsulates for me how you guys, let's say, outperformed what was reasonable to expect? That's the one that comes down for me. How do you do that? What is everybody you talked about rebounding is effort, and that's all well and good, but surrounded by big bodies, effort alone doesn't get it done. How did you guys get there? What was the point of emphasis there among the coaching staff?
Well, part of it was, our shooting percentage wasn't that great. So we were like, listen, we know we're gonna miss some shots.
Right.
It's okay to miss. Let's just go grab them. Let's just go grab the offensive rebound and get them back in. But again, Coach John and Coach Nikki, they really focus on the defense for us. And we do rebounding drills every day, both offensive and defensive rebounding drills. And, we just talked about it's not how you score all the time. Like it doesn't have to look glamorous and all that. But if you can get offensive rebounds and we can get in the paint and get second opportunities that way, that's huge. And I think our length and having guards who crash the offensive glass, because in addition to China crashing the offensive glass, Kayleen was pretty good there. Awa was pretty good there. Antonia off the bench was pretty good there. So I think we just had some people who naturally gravitate to that area, and then we just really encouraged it through the things that we did in practice.
It's really interesting to see. And again, this all-star coaching staff that you've put together is really significant, but it also means that as you add talent to be able to incorporate people, there's so much experience there. There's so much of an understanding of what you guys can be. And so when we talk about what you can be, Mya Petticord comes in as a transfer from Texas A&M, somebody who can hold that point guard job down, it seems like, and fill that role. When you were thinking through how to add to this roster, was that sort of number one on your list for,
Absolutely.
that first?
Absolutely. We knew we needed to get to increase our guard play in terms of, ball handling, creating for others. So passing, being able to take care of the ball. And do it because it's natural to you, right? And you've done it for your basketball career. So, Mya Petticord, one of the things for us in bringing transfers in is they have to be able to fit our culture, right? The culture that we're building. And Nikki knew Mya. She recruited Mya when she was at Mississippi State. So there was a comfort level for us as a coaching staff because Nikki kind of knew her and knew her family, and knew they were good people. And then you watch her play and you see, the talent there, and you see the ability that she has there. And so we think she's going to be a great fit. She plays fast. She's got a little shimmy to her game. She's got a little creativity. And so that will work.
It's interesting too. And you talked about playing fast. We talked about this, and you said, I want to play fast. You were top 100 in the country in pace. Again, doing that with the roster that you had is an incredible accomplishment. But I wonder, when you're recruiting, in specific, right, a transfer who's a point guard, does the fact that Tasha's on staff play a role in people wanting to be a part of this as well, and just knowing that, you're being mentored by, I mean, if not the greatest point guard in Rutgers history, I
Yeah.
don't know who is.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. People, recruits, when they get a chance to sit and talk to Nikki and Tasha and John, but, position by position. But the point guards, when they get a chance to sit down and hear how Tasha was as a player, um, they're blown away. And then Tasha's so down to earth, she just relates to the guards so well. So it certainly has been a benefit to have her on staff, and have her be able to talk about what it means to be a point guard at Rutgers, and how when you're in that chair, when you're in that seat, how powerful you can be.
Lockdown Women's Basketball is brought to you by Prize Picks. They've got a crazy $1 million daily Superflex promotion every day of the NBA playoffs, right through the finals going on right now. One Prize Picks user will win a chance of becoming a millionaire. Whoever placed an entry that was selected by 8 a.m. Eastern Time, randomly selected that day, you'll be given a six-pick flex, with the following payouts. All six correct, $1 million. A lot of money. 5 correct picks, $80,000. 4 correct picks, $16,000. Full details can be found at prizepicks.com/million. And of course, all of you can use the Locked On code for a prize match up to $100. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Just use the promo code Locked On, LOCKEDON, at sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100. And then obviously, you did not stop there when it came to solidifying the point guard spot. Bringing in Lisa Thompson, it's interesting to me. Two things, right? Number one, you bring in a point guard who obviously, she's a top 100 recruit. It's in and of itself, but also you're able to not just put everything on her, asking her to just exclusively run the show on day one. Is that kind of part of your thinking strategically about the way these two players line up?
Actually, Lisa's more of a combo than a true point guard.
Interesting.
She is, an incredible athlete. Now, she told me she can touch the rim, so we'll see. But she's an incredible athlete, so she can play both, with the ball in her hands as a point, or she can play off the ball. And I've historically, we've had teams, I've coached teams in the past where we've got 2 point guards on the floor, which allows us to play even faster, right? And it allows us to move people around. So you can't really key on one primary ball handler and try to press them or trap them and take them out the game when you've got 2 ball handlers on the floor. And because Lisa is really good and really comfortable playing off the ball, it gives her a chance to be on the floor and get a feel for things. And then when she's got to go to the point, it's a little less pressure, because she's been out on the floor, and she doesn't have to remember all the calls, and making that transition from high school to college as a point guard is not easy. It's really, really tough, to learn the lingo, and you got to boss all these older players around, and and you don't know what you're doing, and the game is faster, and the coach is yelling at you, and so it's really hard. So if you can make that transition, um, being on the floor and getting a feel for it without having to do all of the work all the time, that can make your transition easier. So that's why we were so excited that we got a chance to get a player of Lisa's caliber late in the process in the spring. And she's a true freshman, so we get her for 4 years,
Right.
and that's one of the things that, we talked about is we want players to get old in our system. We don't
Mhm.
want to just, grab all these senior, and grad transfers. We want players that get old in our system. So now and that's so when we talk about the future, one of the things for us is next year, this coming year, I should say, um, we got more than half the team that knows what we're doing.
Right.
They know how we want to play. They know the lingo, they know the language, they know the personalities. They know when I'm upset and they know when I'm cool and they know when all of that stuff was so new last year that I think it took the team. We were probably halfway through conference play before I think they really just kind of settled down and went like, okay, this is how coach is.
Mm.
Like, you're waiting, you get the new coach and you're waiting for, okay, this is how she really is, or this is how coach really is. And I think it took them about halfway through the season before they really, kind of breathed and it's like, okay, we get it. We get how our coaches are.
Mhm.
And now you get a new season and you only got 4 players as opposed to the whole team that have to make that adjustment, or 3 really, because Jill's here half the year. So
Yeah.
I think those transitions are going to be are going to work very well for us.
It's really interesting. It makes a ton of sense too, because continuity is, such a significant part. I don't think it was any accident that Iowa ended up in the national
Mhm.
title game with players who knew each other, frankly, with some because of COVID years, half a decade in order
Right,
to do that.
right.
So it's huge. But I do, it is also a signifier, and just for the listeners at home, for you to reach into Illinois, into Big Ten country,
Hmm.
and you have an Illinois player, a top 100 Illinois player coming to Jersey. That is significant. It's
Hmm.
something where I saw it and it popped for me. And another is when you bring Destiny Adams, when you bring a Jersey kid coming and playing at Rutgers and how important that is. And I know you've talked about that from day one about making sure that this is a destination for Jersey players. How
Yeah.
big do you think that is, not just for Destiny herself, but also as you are having these conversations with 24s and 25s, here in the Garden State, to talk about this is the pipeline. This is how you do it.
Yeah. Well, Destiny, when the word went out that we signed Destiny, my phone blew up
Mhm.
from New Jersey people. Just, oh my God, great get. So glad you brought Destiny back home. And so I really felt how the community loves and supports our homegrown talent.
Yeah.
So that was huge for us, and I think it was huge for Destiny to be able to come back home, and she's got a big family and they're all really close. So when she came on her visit, I mean, her sisters are driving in, her brother's driving, like, it was amazing to see the closeness of their family. And that is one of those things that sends the game, and it speaks volumes to other players that you have to go 3,000 miles away or 5,000 miles or 500 miles or 250 miles away. You can stay right here, and get everything you want from your college experience, a great academic school, big time basketball, and your family gets to be a part of your experience. And that's what Destiny ultimately felt. And that's why she decided she'd come back home.
It makes sense. It's huge. Like we said, you were talking about this was the first top 100 Jersey player to sign with Rutgers since 2015. And
Wow.
that to me, you just talk about the amount of talent that has been here since
Hmm.
2015. It's a program changer. It's
Yeah.
absolutely a program changer. And you mentioned Herder, and I don't want us to jump off without talking about her getting that opportunity, to be able to be in the program that extra semester.
Yeah.
What can she be? I think there's, maybe a bit of extra attention on her because she's from an NBA family with Kevin Herder playing, in the league as well. I just wonder, what kind of player can we expect her to be this year for you, do you think?
Yeah, I think her natural and instinctive, I shouldn't say instinctive, her initial gift to the team will be her shooting ability.
Right.
Like she can shoot the ball. But she also is a very skilled passer. And she's a skilled playmaker in terms of, I should say, a skilled ball handler. So she's got good ball handling. She's got, very good passing instincts. But she can shoot the lights out of that sucker. And so when you talk about a player like Kaylene, and when you talk about a player like China Cornwell, having somebody who can spread the floor and spread the defense out and open up some of those driving lanes, open up the paint for those guys, and for Mya and for Lisa and Awa, so they can get to the paint. That's one of the things that I'm excited about, is to really have a dynamic 3-point shooter on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, she just and length too, to be 6
Yeah.
feet while being able to do it, means in most of those matchups defensively, she's able to get that shot. There are nightmares, I think, all over the state of New York from people who had her in high school. So it's a wonderful thing to see. Well, last thing before I let you go about it is just year one here in Jersey, and you're talking about, the adjustment, the experience, but just off the court, what have been some of the standout things that you are thinking of, that you remember from this year one, from this, joyful new experience you've had here?
Well, I will say the first thing, hands down, no question, is just the welcome and the reception. I've never seen a fan base more supportive of a 12 and 20 team than this year, and the excitement that they brought to us, on game day, and our fan base, just, it seemed like game by game, more and more people came, and more people came and supported the team because they loved the way that they played hard and they competed, and they just looked like they were having fun. That's what people say. They look like they were having fun. And I was like, I hope so. It's a game. It's supposed to be fun. We want it to be fun. So the reception from the community, from the Rutgers campus community, the Rutgers other coaches, it's such a camaraderie and such a family amongst the coaches, and how we've supported each other and how they've supported our team. But the local New Brunswick Piscataway community has been so supportive. So that's just been really cool to feel, right? And it wasn't we got to wait and see what you're gonna do. We got to wait and see. It was just, you're here, you're ours, and we got you. And I will forever appreciate and love this community for that reception.
When New Jersey gets this reputation as being tough, it is undoubtedly true. But New Jersey, we all take care of each other too. And so I am not surprised to hear that at all. On behalf of the Garden State, thank you for all you are doing already. Looking forward to continuing to tell the Rutgers basketball story, and your story as well, in the many years to come. To our listeners at home, thank you for making us a part of your day every day. We'll be back with you tomorrow, as we are 6 days a week. Until then, I am Howard Megdal, wishing all of you a wonderful day.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.